You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. Friday, November 21st. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Off to like a 3-4 minute late start. Technology almost got me, but I got it before he could. So we're off and rolling. TGIF. Happy Friday, everyone out there. The work week nearly coming to an end. Another gloomy day here in the Quad City area. Another perfect day to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We have another great show coming up for you once again today to get you ready for the weekend. A big Thursday night of sports. We'll get to all that. Big weekend coming up as well. So we got so much to talk about here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. Also, we have a little special birthday message coming up in the show as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you for doing that as well. We appreciate you for doing that. If you're watching us live, make sure you're subscribing. If you have subscribed, thank you. Getting close to 1,400 subscribers. If you have not, shame on you. What are you doing? Like, get subscribed. Do that. Tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing right here in the Quad Cities each and every weekday. It's been a bunch of fun so far. Also, we are live on X. X has been very good to us as well. Give us your feedback, all of those kind of things. Be active in the show. You can get on the YouTube chat and chat with us right now. You can also reach out via social media as well. We are also available on all the podcasting platforms as well, whether it be Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. Put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show every single day as well. Also, welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa, watching us every evening at 7 p.m. on the WHO streaming app. We appreciate you guys. We've loved the feedback as well, so keep bringing it to us as we continue to talk sports each and every day for a couple hours right here in the Quad Cities and around the Midwest area. So thank you guys for joining us once again today. It should be a fun show. A lot to get to. If you've missed any of the shows this past week, go back and check them out. We've had a lot of fun the last 4 days. Coming up on today's show, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to Kyle Huesmann, his second appearance on the show this week, and for very good reason. The Iowa women with a signature victory. We're going to talk about them here in just a matter of moments. Also, coming up, we're going to start previewing the high school basketball teams around the area. So many boys and girls teams that I'd like to chat with. So coming up a week from this Friday, a week from today, we'll be talking all about high school basketball. The girls have started in Illinois. The boys start next week. Everybody starts next week. So we go from talking high school football on Fridays. We flip the switch and we go talking high school basketball. One of the best stories in the Western Big Six last year was Rock Island. I don't know if they really had high expectations. They went 28-6, won a regional, went 12-2 in the Western Big Six. Their head coach, Marc joins us to talk about some of the returning players he has coming back, a couple of key additions throughout the offseason as well. So we'll talk Rock Island basketball a little bit later on in the show. And then it's becoming a Friday tradition. Our good friend John Bohnenkamp from down in Burlington will join us to talk a little Iowa basketball. They won last night as well. Also the Iowa football game coming up, college football in general. Excuse me. And then also I do want to talk about something that has me frustrated. The great Mike Halas, somebody that I've read and known for a while, over 4 decades of doing it on the Iowa beat with the Cedar Rapids Gazette. His last day is coming up on December 1st. New ownership changes means cuts, which means one of the best to ever do it is going to be no longer doing it after December 1st for that company, and it's frustrating. So we're going to talk about that later on the show as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. Really super excited about it. Kyle Huesmann in a matter of moments to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. The women winning last night 57-52, beating number 7 Baylor in a game that had everything, some injuries, a gritty performance from the Iowa Hawkeyes, winning a game in the 50s, playing well inside. We'll talk all about it with Kyle in a second. The Iowa State women winning last night as well, 87-60, the final score in that one. Audie Crooks had 22 points. Addie Brown with 12 points, 11 rebounds. She had a double-double. So it's Iowa State beating Drake. Iowa beat Drake as well. Of course, those two teams will play coming up in December as well. Men's side of things, the Iowa men take care of business against Chicago State last night. An easy victory. It's been an easy first 5 games for Iowa. Yes, there's that Xavier game in there, but Xavier down this year. We'll find out more about them next week, but John Bohnenkamp will talk about that coming up in a little bit as well. Thursday Night Football, a little bit of a surprise. It was Houston upsetting the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is one of those teams that, like, you love them, you look at them, and you're like, wow, that team's going to win a Super Bowl. And then the next week they look really bad. So, and that includes their quarterback. And I'm a Josh Allen guy. I have friends that aren't, but sometimes, I mean, he looks amazing at times, but when he's not good, he's really not good. And I think that might have been the case last night as well. And also I want to talk about one quick thing that I did last night. Been doing it for several years, but got a chance to take part in, and it's a really bad selfie, so I apologize for everyone having to look at that. But I got to take part in the Key Cares, Casino for a Cure, a really amazing event down at the Stern Center, raising money for some amazing organizations, the Brantley Francis Foundation and Rally for Reed. Over the last 3 years, not including last night, so the first 3 years, raised $145,000 for those two organizations. Awesome event, casino. I got to MC the event. Little did I know, John, who is a friend of mine from college and I've gotten to know him over the years, didn't tell me that I was going to be the live auctioneer as well. But we handled it. We figured it out. And they do amazing work. Made T-shirts this year. Some of the young people designed the T-shirts you can see underneath our suit coats. So great night. Great environment. Everything was awesome about it. And hopefully, and I think we did, we raised a really good amount of money for two great organizations, Rally for Reed and the Brantley Francis Foundation. So again, thank you to my good friend John Cornish for letting me be part of that. And he always thanks me, and thanks for emceeing and what that. Trust me, the thank you goes to him for letting me be part of a night like that and to help raise money for an amazing cause. Two amazing causes is really, really cool. So next year we're going to get the word out ahead of time. I told John, let's get the word out ahead of time so we can maybe make it even bigger. It was sold out last year, but some ideas to do next year, and we'll help with this show, try to make it even bigger and better next year as well. So that was a great evening. It was also a great evening for the Iowa women's basketball team as they go down to Orlando and beat number 7 Baylor. And here to talk all about it for the second time this week, Kyle, I told you, I said it's going to be that time of year where you're going to get more airtime than I do. Back for more. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. How about those Hawkeyes?
Yeah, I mean, that, as you said it when you were kind of introing the game, that it had a little bit of everything. That was, I call it one of the basketball games of all time. It's not going to be one of those that you're going to talk about for years and years. It's just one of those games that it happened. I don't think either team, Iowa or Baylor, is probably particularly happy with how they played. But really a gritty win for Iowa, a gutty win to go out and I'm sure we'll get into it. Some of the injuries that happened, just some of the adversity that they faced throughout the game. To come away with a win over the number 7 team in the country. I mean, it's November 21st, so both teams are far from being their finished product. But to have a win like this on the resume this early in the season is certainly something that the team and the fan base should be happy about.
Kyle, you mentioned it, and I think what I came away with, I was at the event last night, so I DVR'd a lot last night, and I stayed up way too late, which might be the reason for the late start because I don't know my head from my you-know-what today. But I got through it and watched it, and it just looked a little different than the memorable Iowa victories of the past. And I'm not saying they haven't won games in this fashion, but it wasn't like 95-85. It wasn't high scoring where Iowa it was gritty. I got to grab Dan Campbell because I said the word gritty. It was a gritty performance from the Iowa Hawkeyes. Talk about maybe winning a game that maybe we're not used to seeing from them when it comes to toughness inside and defense and those kind of things. I think that's what stood out for me after watching the game back late last night.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, maybe not quite as much last year because they did have some lower scoring games last year, and they came out on the wrong side of some of those last year as well. But you think back to the Caitlin years and all the players that she played with, they didn't really have those gritty games. Like you said, it would be kind of like they maybe they beat a team that some people didn't think they would beat, but it'd be 88-84 or something like that, or in the 90s. This would have needed another half of basketball to get into the 90s potentially. Maybe even more than that. It might have needed like 7 quarters to get to the 90s. But yeah, as I said, it's a little bit different in the way that they won. Like I said, I don't think either team Iowa shot the ball 34%. I think Baylor shot under 30% for the game. So it was just one of those where neither team was really making a lot of shots. There was a lot of, I thought there were a lot of tough shots taken. I thought both defenses played pretty well. Baylor finished the game with 11 block shots. They really rattled Iowa in that way. But yeah, as you said, just to kind of win the way that they did, I mean, 57-52, I don't know the last time that Iowa won a game with that type of score. You'd probably have to go back I always say this. I always say you have to go back a number of years, and that's just sitting there right in front of me, a game that just happened. But I would assume you'd have to go back several years to find a game with a final score like that. And to do it the way they did, I mean, you talk about Hannah Stolke limping off the court in the first half. She missed the Journey Houston started the second half, and it took Hannah a bit to get back into the game. And then obviously Chit Chat goes down early in the second half, and then Kylie Feuerbach fouls out in the fourth quarter. They played almost the entire fourth quarter with 2 starters out and managed to find a way to win. So it's one of those that you look at the final stats, you look at the final score, and it doesn't really stand out as that big of a win. But to find a way through some of the adversity when the shots weren't falling at times, you were getting shots blocked, to find a way to win and make enough plays to win. This is a win that they really needed this early in the year to kind of, maybe not necessarily confidence-wise in terms of we played well, but confidence-wise of we played really poorly at times. We had some players out, and we still found a way to beat a top 10 team.
Yeah, you look at it, Kyle, and you mentioned it last year, especially early on. I don't know if they win games like this because it felt like they were coming up on the wrong end of some really competitive games. They found that way to win. Obviously, the other headline in this game, you mentioned it, Chit Chat gets out or is injured. She leaves. Hate watching anybody get carried off the floor. I know you're not down there in Orlando, so probably tougher to know what's going on right now. But your thoughts, we'll start with Chit Chat of the injury itself. What did you see? Have you heard anything? I know you don't want to speculate or anything like that, but your thoughts on the Chit Chat, who's been arguably the best Iowa basketball player on their roster the beginning part of this season.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there at the end. Was that Chit Chat's been playing really, really well, and against UNI that was probably her best performance, the way that she played in that game. And to see her go down, I mean, anytime you see somebody get injured, especially the good players, the people that you pay to come see, that's tough to see. And I have not gotten an update. I know Jan mentioned on the radio the post game last night that she mentioned, she didn't say Chit Chat was out, but she said we're going to have to play without her. So I assume that means she's going to be out tomorrow against Miami. But yeah, no update on what the exact injury was. It was a weird play. She kind of drove into the lane. I think she got her foot stepped on a bit as she went up and fell awkwardly, kind of on her arm and shoulder and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't really know what the exact injury is. I thought maybe she hit her head on the court. After seeing a couple of replays, it doesn't look like she did. So I don't know. I don't exactly know what the injury is, and we'll have to see. Again, like you said, I'm not down there, and we won't get a full media availability until they're back. So. And it will obviously have the injury report before the game tomorrow, but that won't say anything head, arm, whatever. It won't say anything like that. It'll just say either out or questionable or whatever. But first off, I thought last night when Chit Chat went out, obviously that's a huge blow. And as he said, the way that she was playing, through the early part of the season as the starting point guard, that was a tough blow in itself. But all of a sudden, like I said, your starting point guard's out of the game. I thought Taylor Stremlo did a phenomenal job of coming in and playing that point guard position. She knocked down a couple of 3-pointers. In the first half, she made it when Chit Chat was still playing, made a hustle play to get on the floor and get a loose ball, and that led to a 3-pointer that kind of gave him some momentum late in the half. But I thought that was probably one of the best games, if not the best game that Taylor Stremlo's played at Iowa. To come in a situation where all of a sudden you go from, hey, I'm coming off the bench, to maybe give Chit Chat a few minutes of break, or just to go play the small forward position. All of a sudden you're playing point guard almost the entire second half. I thought she handled it really well, and she was a big reason why they were able to win the game. But if Chit Chat can't go against Miami, Miami's a team that's going to press a bit. So to have a ball handler out, that's going to be a tough blow. But to see what Taylor Stremlo did in the second half, I think you feel confident that she can run the offense in the half court and certainly do some stuff against the press. But that would be my biggest concern right now, is if Miami really decides to do a lot of pressing, a lot of pressure, that is one of your best ball handlers, if not your best ball handler, potentially out of the game for tomorrow.
You look at it too, and we don't know how it looks, but long term, obviously Taylor Stremlo, somebody that we talked to her on the show when we did our show from Carver Hawkeye, and she wants to be out there. She talked about just being available to do whatever this team needed. I remember talking about she'll do whatever it takes for this team to win. How important is it to have guys or ladies like that You look at a Journey Houston who played 6 minutes and kind of spelled Hannah until she came back. But the depth of this team, we talked about trying to figure out if it gets pared down. Well, it might get pared down just because of injuries eventually. To have that depth is important. And moving forward, we don't know about Chit Chat, but moving forward long term, Taylor Stremlo is somebody, and Addie Deal can play that position as well. The depth of this team might be needed sooner than later with injuries.
Yeah, and I thought, going into last night, if you would have told me that Chit Chat was going to miss the entire second half or almost the entire second half, I would have been a little worried about that point guard position just because we hadn't seen, and obviously because Chit Chat had been playing well, she was playing a lot of minutes. But we just, Addie Deal's going through her freshman adjustment period right now. And, Taylor Strem last year made a lot of really good plays, had some issues with turnovers at times last year, and still to the early part of this season hadn't played a lot of point guard. So the concern for me would have been who is going to go run the point guard for an entire half of basketball. And like I said, Taylor Stremler really stepped up in a big spot, finished with 12 points. She was 2 of 3 from three-point range. It's still early. They played 5 games, but I thought Taylor Stremler really shot the ball well, especially from three-point range, which is kind of that part of her game. We've known about the passing. We've known about that, like the IQ, the hustle stuff. But the scoring has been that thing that she hasn't really been, she hasn't been needed in that way. Has really worked on trying to get her shot to be more consistent. And at least through 5 games, it looks like she has been more consistent from the three-point range. But yeah, if she's going to play that point guard position, whether it's Miami or longer than that, they are going to need her to pick up some of the scoring. She's obviously not going to probably put up 20 a game or 15 a game like Chit Chat was doing. But I think last night, to be able to knock down a couple of threes, she finishes with 4 assists. Didn't have a turnover as well. So 4 assists, no turnovers. You feel good about what she showed last night. But yeah, you mentioned the depth overall, and obviously like Hannah was a little dinged up last night for a stretch, and Journey Houston was able to come in and play for a little bit. But yeah, when you have 10 or 11 players that you feel like can play, even if it is just a Hannah Stolke getting dinged up for a quarter or so, you don't feel like that costs you the game to have her out of the lineup. And certainly they'd love to have Chit Chat back for the next game. It doesn't appear that that's going to be the case. But yes, they have a couple of players that can play at that point guard position. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Chit Chat is out for a bit, whether it's a couple of games, whatever. Just kind of what they do with different lineups then, because obviously if Taylor Stremel is playing predominantly the minutes at the point guard position, she obviously got minutes not at point guard. So who kind of slots into that spot? There are other people that get a few more minutes. So I think the players are there. Certainly you want Chit Chat back sooner rather than later. But like I said, I was impressed with what Taylor Stremel showed last night.
Had to mic myself. Stremlo went 25 minutes, scored 14 points, had 4 assists, 25 minutes, 14 points, 12 points, had 4 assists, played really well. Kyle, Ava Hayden, when you look at her stat line, 18 points, 11 rebounds. I know we'll talk injuries, we'll talk grit, all those kind of things. She was arguably the best player on the floor last night. We saw it towards the end of last year. If Iowa fans need to be excited about something this morning, the Ava Hayden hype is real, is it not?
Yeah, I thought early in the game, there were some block shots in there for really not just her, but kind of everybody on Iowa's roster. But, to finish with 18 points, 7 of 14 shooting, was 4 of 5 at the line, which is good to see because she and Layla Hayes have struggled through the early part of the season. But again, 11 rebounds was big as well. Coming into this matchup, Baylor had more height and more athleticism than Iowa had faced this season. So that was kind of one of those, we thought Iowa had good rebounding, and they were a good rebounding team last year, but it was just kind of how do they look in that first test? And I thought Ava Hayden did a good job, finishing with 11 rebounds, in Iowa out rebounds Baylor 47 to 41. So that was big there to do that. But yeah, to finish with 18 points, she was really good in that second half. I'm trying to, let me see if I can pull up the by half stats here. Second half, she had 11 points on 4 of 9 shooting, was 3 of 3 from the line, had 7 rebounds in the second half. Again, it's a stat box that there are some stuff that kind of stands out as it doesn't look too great. Just because, a 57-52 game, it was one of those grinded out, kind of like one of those Virginia men's basketball games from recent memory where it doesn't look great, and sometimes the stats don't look great, but you have to pick out little pockets where certain players played well. And I thought Ava Hayden played well. I thought Taylor McCabe played really well as well to finish with 8 rebounds. That's not really her game. I thought she was pretty good defensively as well, but just 1 of 6 from 3-point range. But it's just those plays in those certain spots that that in a 57-52 game, all it takes is a couple of plays. And the stretch that I go back to, I believe it was 51 to 47, 48. I think it was 51-48 Baylor, and Ava Hayden gets back-to-back baskets and puts Iowa up one, and then Iowa gets a stop, and Emily Rodriguez comes down in transition and gets a basket to go 54-51. And then it was Taylor McCabe, who, again, 1 of 6 from three-point range. I mean, that's a big part of her game is shooting that three-point shot. She could have been upset about that. Could have been, not playing at her best, but instead she cuts right in front of the inbound pass. Gets it really looked like they were just passing it straight to her. She cuts in front, gets the big steal, and all of a sudden it's a game that is in the 50s. It's a 5-point game with 2 minutes left or whatever it was. So I thought her ability to get on the glass and finish with 8 rebounds, but also come up with that really just that big time momentum changing play when I was already getting all the momentum to get the steal there and the layup. That to me was the play that kind of closed the game out. But overall, I thought Iowa defensively did a really good job. We didn't really talk about it a ton when I was previewing the game, but Baylor came into the game with those top 3 players, Talia Scott and Dariana Little-Page-Buggs and Bella Font-Leroy. Those were their top 3 scorers. Had combined for 51 points a game out of their 74 game. And Iowa did Talia Scott was fantastic, finished with 32 points, but did a really good job of, let her score her points. She's going to score her points because she can shoot it really well from 3, made 6 threes. But they did a good job of limiting other players. Little-Page-Buggs was 0-5 from the floor. She finished with 12 rebounds, but 0-5 from the floor. Bella Font-Leroy made almost 63s last year. She was 0-5 from 3, 1 of 10 from the floor. And Baylor just didn't have the scoring depth past them. They had, Van Gittenbeek finished with 6 points, and they had, Kayla Nelms, who was a kind of their third center, came in and had 5 points and 3 rebounds, a couple of block shots, but they just didn't have the scoring depth behind Talia Scott. And I think a lot of that was what I was able to do defensively. And some of it was with just the way the game went, with not a lot of rhythm. It's harder to score in those type of games when it's physical game, block shots, fouls, whatever. But I thought Iowa did a good job defensively of limiting Baylor's other top scorers. And when you force it to just be on Talia Scott, she did a great job with 32 points, but she wasn't going to score 60 points to win in that game. So I thought Iowa did a really good job defensively. And like I said, this is a game where you pick out some of the highlights. You pick out how they find a way to grind it out and get it done. You pick out the defense, the rebounding. But there's certainly stuff like 11 block shots is not good. They only shot 34% for the game. There's some things to clean up. But as I said, November 21st to get a top 10 win on the resume, you're more nitpicking than being concerned about some of that stuff.
Kyle, I want to talk about what's next and Miami. You maybe some people looked at this kind of trip down there and said, hey, Iowa probably comes back 1-1. Maybe they lose 1 to Baylor. They beat Miami. Now you don't want to flip it. You know what I mean? You don't want to get that win against Baylor and that signature win and then give 1 back, if that makes any sense. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards Miami. It's a good basketball team that they got to prepare for. But there is the high of beating a top 10 team and then preparing 40 hours later with a few injuries for a really good Miami team. What do you see on Saturday? What does Iowa maybe have to guard against in order to get back to Iowa City with a 2-0 record down in Orlando?
Well, I think the first thing is if Chit Chat's out, which, like I said, it sounds like that's going to be the case. You're going to be playing down a starter, so there's going to be some players and someone that's really scored well for Iowa so far this season. I know coming into the year we didn't expect Chit Chat to come out and have that big of a scoring role right away, but she has. So certainly if she's out, that means someone else is going to have to step up. Does that mean Ava Hayden scores a couple extra points and really has a good night, or Hannah Stolke, who's been consistent early but hasn't really had that big night yet? Maybe it's a Taylor McCabe. She was 1 of 6 against Baylor. Maybe she makes some threes. Maybe it's an Emily Rodriguez who I thought struggled at times against Baylor. With turnovers, forcing some things. I think she got caught up in kind of the messiness of the game and forced some things. Maybe she's someone that has a big bounce back performance. Somebody's going to have to step up in this game to fill that scoring void. And Taylor Stremel certainly will try to fill it in terms of being the point guard. But someone's going to have to step up from a scoring standpoint to kind of fill some of those points that'll be lost with Chit Chat out. But you look at Miami, and I think if you're a fan that just likes to, hey, it's early in the season, what's Miami's record right now? What did they do last year? And you look at 14-15 last year for Miami, and you go, oh, Iowa should win this easily. Pretend that record, it doesn't even matter. Pretend that it doesn't matter. Pretend that it never happened. They brought in 7 transfers. They have 5 true freshmen. It's basically a brand new team. 244 of their 302 points this season are from new players. So they're basically a brand new team, a team that I think is going to make the NCAA tournament this year. But the big thing for me in this matchup is they have the tallest player that Iowa's faced to this point in the season, Rashea Kyle, Florida transfer center, 6'6". And she's done a really good job, averaging 15.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds a game. Had 16 double-doubles last year in the SEC at Florida, so that's pretty productive in a conference like that on a Florida team that was average at best. And she's also shooting over 60%, is 16 of 19 at the rim. So basically automatic when she gets it near the basket. So that's going to be a really tough matchup, a good matchup for Ava Hayden and Layla Hazen when she comes off the bench. This will be, like I said, I told you, the Baylor matchup with some taller athletic centers that can block shots was going to be an interesting matchup. Now this will be an interesting matchup when they're both, even Layla Hayes is 6'5", but she's going to be shorter than Rashea Kyle when she's not on the floor. And I would say Ava Hayden will be a couple inches shorter. So that'll be a different matchup. Gal Raviv is a Quinnipiac transfer from Miami. It was a really good scorer, Metro Atlantic Player of the Year last year as a freshman. She struggled from three-point range, and Miami overall has, which I was going to say in a second, but she's done a really good job. Had 22 points last night against Davidson, shooting in the mid-range really well. I think at like 50% from the mid-range right now. So that's kind of been her game so far. The one thing that stands out about Miami so far is they just haven't shot the three ball very well. They have a couple of players that at their previous transfer spots had shot the ball well and put up 50, 60, 70 threes in a season. But through 4 games, they're just 23 of 87, 26.4% from three-point range. And we saw last night what happened when Baylor really struggled from three-point range. It's hard when they have the center with Rashea Kyle, obviously, but when you can't score inside and outside, when you're shooting it that poorly from three-point range, when you go up against a good team like in Iowa, it's harder when you can't at least knock down a few threes and you're really struggling. And like I said, we saw that from Baylor last night, really struggled from three-point range outside of Talia Scott. And then you start leaning on, the one hot player, you try to force it into certain areas. So that's the thing that I look at with Miami is unless they shoot the three ball better, it's going to be interesting to see how Iowa tries to defend them. If they allow them to shoot some threes and basically prove that they can make them and try to limit some of the inside scoring for Miami. But overall, I think this is going to be a tough game, certainly with Miami's ability to press and Iowa being down their best ball handler will be interesting. Iowa's going to have to play clean basketball, can't turn it over a lot. But I think this is going to be potentially a little bit of a lower scoring game as well. Miami's played it at a little bit lower pace this year. I think if Chit Chat's out, Iowa's probably going to be playing a little bit slower pace as well with her not getting out in transition. But as you mentioned, this is a game that Iowa can win, not something to overlook because I think Miami's a pretty solid side. But as you mentioned, you get the win over Baylor, and if you wanted to look at the not even the pessimistic side of it coming in, but you feel like, hey, maybe we're going to lose to Baylor, go beat Miami, that type of mindset and be 1-1. You beat Baylor, you definitely don't want to come back 1-1 and say, well, we really had a chance to go 2-0 had we beaten Miami. So this is a big one to try to come back on a really high note. It ends up being kind of the de facto championship game. They didn't do a bracket. But Miami won their game and Iowa won their game. So this ends up kind of being the championship game. You'd love to come back with that feeling that you did win the tournament that you went down to. And certainly after that, the schedule opens up a little bit with Western Illinois coming up. They have a really tough Fairfield team, a really good mid-major after that. But a chance that if they take care of business in these next couple of games, they have a chance to really get the ball rolling with a solid undefeated start to the season. So I think, like I said, this is a big game to kind of bounce back off of the highs that you had. We battled through all the adversity, things like that. Now you got to refocus and reset and go make sure you take care of business and beat Miami.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joined me. Before I let you go, I always ask Tom these questions, and you guys have a good pulse on what Iowa fans are thinking via the message boards, the lounge, or if it's simply just social media. I think there's an excitement about this women's basketball team. We know that. We see it in the numbers we do on the show. But I think after a Baylor win, I think that gets ramped up even more. And you look at, you mentioned Iowa State won last night. That game's coming up. That's going to be a really good basketball game. UConn coming up later. Fairfield, you mentioned, a really good mid-major team. Where are expectations? And you've seen over the last 12 hours the maybe higher expectations for a team that people were cautiously probably optimistic about to begin with. Do they ramp up now because they knock off a number 7 Baylor?
Yeah, I think normally they would. I think people are a little cautious just because Chit Chat goes down with an injury.
Sure.
We don't know the nature of that and whether she's going to be out 1 game, 5 games, whatever. We don't know anything about that. So I think people are a little cautious about, hey, what's happening there. And certainly the game, the way that it was played last year, I think if Iowa wins that game, in the 70s or 80s and both teams shoot it pretty well and whatever, I think it's maybe a little bit different. I think that really what happened last night, and I think it goes to show that Iowa can win games in gritty ways. And certainly we talked about this before the season. Iowa really struggled in close games last year, and that was the reason why they didn't host at the NCAA tournament. So the first time they get in a close game this year, they win 57-52. They found a way to win. They were behind in the fourth quarter and found a way to get the job done. So I think first off, that is huge that they found a way to do that. But I think more than anything, last night was more of like a deep breath, like a woo, we found a way. Now let's move on to the next one, right? Just because it was messy at times. There were stretches where it felt like maybe Baylor was going to pull away. They led by 7 at one point in the second half. I think there is a lot of excitement to take down a top 10 team, but I think more than anything, it's like didn't play the best. But still found a way to win. So I think, again, if Iowa can go take care of business and beat a Miami and go 2-0, and then that's when the AP poll will respond, and the AP poll will have people will be voting Iowa higher, and that when Iowa fans start to see if they go beat Miami and all of a sudden they're 6-0 and the AP poll moves them up to 12, 13, something like that, that's when the excitement starts to build a little bit. But I think a lot of it, the comments that I've seen was a lot of hey, so and so played really well, like Taylor Strimlow played well. I thought Taylor McCabe played really well, but a lot of it comes down to oh boy, that was not a great basketball game, but found a way to win. That type of feeling. And like I said, when I first started talking today, you never get upset about a top 10 win on November 21st. That's a big resume booster, and that how you played on November 20th being last night. That's not how it's going to be at the end of the season. There's going to be a more finished product by then. But this early in the year, anytime you can get a top 10 win like that is really huge. And I think people are excited about that.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to remember is that if there's a team that's going to evolve and improve throughout the season, it's going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes. I mean, they have the newcomers, the transfers, the freshmen, and even some of their key pieces are just sophomores. When you look at Taylor Strimlow and Ava Hayden, I think the what you see now when it comes to Iowa women's basketball and what you're going to see, like you mentioned in February and March, are going to be different. If you're gonna get top 10 victories now, it could look really good coming up later in the season as well. Kyle, it's that time of year. I'm gonna be bugging you a lot. I appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow against Miami, and we'll hope to get good news on Chit Chat Wright and all those kind of things as well. Appreciate you. We'll catch up again real soon.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention, the Iowa soccer team plays today. They were supposed to play yesterday. The game got postponed due to weather down there in Nashville.
Crazy.
So, if people are interested in that, I believe it's on ESPN Plus today. But yeah, Iowa's trying to a second day now. They're going to try again down there in Nashville to play.
What's the weather now?
I don't know. Yesterday, I wasn't even paying attention to the weather. I was like 45 minutes till the game, and it got posted that it got postponed. But it looked like they had a lot of rain going through yesterday. But I assume they're going to play today.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's at 3:00. Got moved up an hour and back a day. So 3:00 on ESPN Plus. Iowa playing LSU for a spot in the Sweet 16. So that's the big game today.
I love it. Soccer today, women's basketball, football tomorrow. So much to get to this time of year. Kyle, appreciate you. We'll catch up with you again real soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. That is Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. You knew what we were going to talk to him today regardless because it was a big game last night. But I got done with the event last night and I saw Iowa won. And I quickly texted him and he's like, yeah, of course. Let's rock. So, yeah, and like he mentioned, it wasn't a thing of beauty. It wasn't the prettiest victory in the world. But when you look at college basketball teams, Iowa's one of them that's nowhere near a finished product right now. When it comes to youth and the freshmen and the transfers and the sophomores, there's going to be a better Iowa product later in the season. And if you're picking up wins against Baylor right now, things could be really, really fun later in the season as well. We hope Chit Chat Wright is healthy and all those kind of things. Anything anybody finds out, we'll let you guys know as well. Kyle will be the first person on anything when it comes to that, so make sure you're following him on social media as well. We're going to stick with the Hawkeye theme and talk with John Bohnenkamp coming up and after the break. We're going to talk some football, talk Iowa men's basketball with him, talk college football as a whole when it comes to the Big Ten this weekend. I think there's some big games, obviously USC and Oregon coming up. That's a big one. Illinois, Wisconsin is an intriguing football game. I wanted to get his thoughts on that. And then I'm cranky this morning because one of the best in the business, Mike Halas, is done at the Gazette, and I think December 1st. And it stinks. And we're going to talk more about that coming up after the break with a guy who knows about those kind of things as well. John Bohnenkamp and much more. Marc Polite later in the show, and a little birthday wish that I want to get to here later in the show as well. It's a busy Friday. Thank you guys for watching, whether you're on X, YouTube, wherever you are. Send the feedback, questions, all those kind of things. And we got much more. John Bohnenkamp right after this on OTA. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. A lot to talk about. We've already talked about and broken down the Iowa women last night, an impressive victory, getting a top 10 victory already over Baylor. But it's just the tip of the iceberg right now when it comes to what's going on in Iowa City. We got a football game, a senior day coming up against Michigan State, 2:30 tomorrow at Kinnick Stadium, and the men's basketball team improved to 5-0 last night. Kind of the appetizer, a 6 o'clock start at Carver Hawkeye before the main event, and people watching the women's game at 8 o'clock nationally as well. So here, as he is almost on every Friday, John, this is becoming a thing. I don't hate it.
You got to start paying me.
Hey, every time I see you, I tell you how good looking you are. That's paying you a compliment, and that's, I think, what you need most. So, John Bohnenkamp joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Gosh, a lot to talk about. I think I want to start with the Iowa men last night because I don't think you can really, we can't sit here and say, okay, let's look at the game and those kind of things. It was Chicago State. It is what it is. But I think it's a good chance to maybe take a step back after 5 games and try to figure out what do we know and then what do we want to find out next week. So I'll start with that. After 5 games with Ben McCullum, what do we know about this basketball team?
It's a deep team. He has been going 10 deep, most of these games. And of course, these games have allowed him to do that. So, and even the Xavier game, which we look back on, and you thought at the beginning of the season, we've talked about this before, that this was going to be a really big test for them, and as it turned out, it wasn't. And they've dominated everybody they've played, so it's allowed him to kind of mix and match some combinations. So I think what we've learned is that they've got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, and now it's just a matter of, as you get into the better competition, as you get into this, this tournament coming up, it's not really a tournament, I guess. It's the 2 games you got coming up out in Palm Springs. And then you get into Big Ten play and you get into Iowa State and all that. Now we're going to see what this rotation looks like. If he does still go 10 deep, if it gets narrowed down to 7 or 8, but what I like so far is everybody, when guys have come in, they've played well. They haven't hurt them. And they've also had a couple of games where they haven't played well and then all of a sudden turned it on and played well. So, I mean, I like what they've done so far. I mean, this is a good start for them to know what they are and to kind of get an identity.
You look at that and you talk about what it will look like. I mean, I think he talked with the media on Tuesday night about like, hey, how, I think it was Tyler Tashman said, do you normally play? And he got the laugh he didn't mean to with, he usually plays 6-7 guys. They're playing 10. Like, yeah. I don't want to be that guy and say like, who's the odd man out, but some of the freshmen have been probably the most impressive when Tate Stage and the Uric youngster as well. So but you have the familiarity with Drake and his system and what he wants. I don't want to be like, hey, eliminate people from but who might be on the outside looking in if this thing does get trimmed from 10 to 8 or even 7? Is it matchup based or is it? Go ahead.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that is what it's going to be. And the one thing we know for sure is Bennett Sturtz will play 40 minutes. Yeah. We know that. And you kind of got a pretty good idea on what Tavion Banks is. Outside of that, it's just going to be who's playing well. And, the box score at the end of the game may look like, 9 or 10, even in some of these games coming up, but there might be a core 6 or 7 or whatever that is.
Done.
There might be that core group that, and it's just going to be a matter of who's the best matchup every night. And, I know everybody's like, oh, so-and-so should start, and so-and-so should start. The minutes these guys have been getting are the minutes they're going to be getting when you get into, So it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, I think it's going to be based on more on who the matchups are, what they need, that sort of thing. And it's not going to be a consistent, 7 or 8 every night.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you tell youngsters all the time they get cranky because they're not in the starting lineup. You're like, it doesn't matter who gets their name announced at the beginning. It's when there is a close game, which there hasn't been one. That's what I think the intriguing thing is, John. I think you find out who coaches really like and trust when it's a tight game in the final 5 minutes. And there hasn't been that. And maybe there is next week against, Ole Miss or, Utah or Grand Canyon, whoever it may be. I think that's going to be the telltale sign. People want to know what Ben McCullum thinks. Well, he's not going to tell us. Actions speak louder than words. We need a close game to figure that out, don't we?
Oh, exactly. And I mean, that's when we'll kind of know who that core group is going to be. But at the same time, everybody gets hung up on the starting thing. And somebody brought up that, Fulgaris should start. And I'm like, but he came in the game the other night, like 2.5 minutes in. So if he starts, is he still going to play the same amount of minutes? Or is it, or if he didn't, if he starts, he's only going to play 1 or 2 minutes more. Is that going to really make a difference? I said, he knows what guys are going to play and when. And as long as he knows who is in when you need, when you're in crunch time, that's going to be the biggest part of this team, I think.
Absolutely.
And it's always been,
Yeah, John Bohnenkamp joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Cooper Koch was on the Hawkeye Tailgate show last Saturday with me, and you got the vibe from him that like he's happy he's starting. It's a cool thing, but like he knows the competition each and every day in practice and doesn't know where it's going to go. With that being said, it seems like every night I look and he's somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes a game, and he's somewhere between 8 to 12 points. That's pretty good. Just the one guy that's left over from last year, and I got to see him a lot, being on the Illinois side of the river, and when he played at Morton and his high school career, I got to see him more often. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. Your thoughts on Cooper Koch? And I want him to shoot it more because, they have shooters with Sturtz and Huesmann and others, but I think he can be an elite shooter as well. Your thoughts on young Cooper Koch and the way he's kind of transitioned from Fran McCaffrey to what we have now with Ben McCollum?
He's healthy. I mean, I said that last week. He's healthy. That's the biggest thing in the world. I mean, you saw last year, early on, when he did play early in the season, hey, he could give them good minutes. I think back to the game there in the Quad Cities.
Yeah.
And he played well that night, but he had his health issues. He doesn't have them now. And so you're seeing him, take shots. You're seeing him take threes. You're seeing him go to the basket. You're seeing him get rebounds. You're seeing what we thought we could have gotten, seen out of him last year in Big Ten play, had he not been hurt. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And again, this is a guy that has the pedigree. I mean, obviously, his high school career, but he's also a legacy there. His dad played there. So I think, and he stayed. A lot of guys would have left, and everybody did except him. So all those combinations, plus the fact he's playing well, makes me think what the minutes he's getting now are going to be the minutes he's going to be getting in the next couple of weeks.
I might be completely wrong with this, but and I'm wrong a lot. We were just talking the other day with Taylor Thiel, who's the new head basketball coach at Galesburg, and I was talking about the Joey Range and Rod Thompson era, and Joey obviously went there last year of Dr. Tom, but Rod Thompson was one of those guys that stuck around with Steve Alford and played, and that kind of reminds me a little bit of Cooper, of a guy that went through a coaching change younger in his career and is there to kind of maybe be that establishing, foundation for what Ben McCollum wants to do coming up in the next couple years as well. John Bohnenkamp joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You look at this basketball team as well, and you just mentioned the Quad Cities game. It's crazy, John, that was last year around this time?
Right. Yeah.
So can you imagine if I would have told you and it was cool and it was full and they won and there was a little buzz and excitement, and if I would have told you a year ago that, Brock and Owen wouldn't even be that, they'd be at TCU and Creighton, Fran wasn't there, and this guy named Ben McCollum, who we didn't really even know about at that point, was the head coach at Iowa, you would have thought I was nuts. Isn't it wild what's happened in the last year when you think back at that game here in the Quad Cities, a year ago?
You think about it. I mean, you looked at it, then you thought, okay, this is a pretty good team. This is probably a team that can get to the NCAA tournament, and you probably thought it could finish in that 8 to 10 range in the Big Ten standings. And then, guys got hurt, things just didn't work. And, there was just kind of that steady slide then the rest of the year. But that shows you, and I tell people this all the time, that just shows you how long the college basketball season goes and what can change in a hurry. So that's why I don't freak out if they don't shoot well for a half against Chicago State. I've told this story, in other places, but, I think back to a couple years ago, it was about this time, it was early December, and in an 8-day period, I went over to Western Illinois, saw them lose on a last-second layup to go to they were 3-6 at the time. And then I saw Iowa that week, and they played their 2 Big Ten games plus Iowa State and just got, double-digit point losses in all 3. And, you thought for both those teams, it was over. By the end of the year, Western Illinois had won 20 games and was in contention for the conference title. Iowa was in contention for an NCAA tournament berth. You never know what's going to happen in college basketball.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
So you don't overreact this time of year is my thing.
No, I look back to last year. I think I invested with Iowa State going to a Final Four around this time of year,
Right.
maybe a little later, and lost some of my wife's hard-earned money doing that. But like you look, and so it goes both ways. And you look at teams that have amazing victories in November, and they never go away. Like that's on the resume, but it's all about playing well at the right time of year and all those kind of things as well. Before we stop with the basketball. Next week, you mentioned trying to find out close games, rotations, all those kind of things. As you sit down for Feast Week and you maybe watch Iowa take on Ole Miss or Utah, whoever it might be, in the second game, what are you looking for? What do you want to see next week from the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Who's on the court in the second half? We know what the first half's going to look like. It's going to be who is on the court in that 12-minute to 8-minute time frame, in that middle part of that second hoop. Who are those guys that when it comes to that point in the game, if it's a close game, that really games can be taken over? And so that's going to be my big thing is we all know that he may play all 9 or 10 guys in the first half. He may only play 6 or 7 in the second half, and I want to see who they are. And that's going to be the biggest thing in my mind. So, and to see it on back-to-back days, because it may, like we said earlier with the matchups, it may change a little.
John, before we talk some football, women's basketball wise, you were busy last night. Yeah, Western Illinois, you're watching Iowa, all those kind of things. The Iowa women, gritty, and God bless Dan Campbell. I'll put him on there every time I can. Gritty performance from the Iowa women. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't, hey, they went out there and outscored. I mean, it was a little different than what Iowa basketball is sometimes because they had to slow things down. Ava Hayden really good inside. I think we kind of know that going into the season. What did you take? We talked with Kyle about it earlier, but what did you take from that victory last night for Iowa against a really good Baylor team?
Now you know how to win those games. I mean, that you're going to have, again, the long season of college basketball, you're going to have those games where you're not playing well, the other team's not playing well. It's just a matter of who makes plays down the stretch. And you saw that with Iowa. The other thing I noticed last night as I was going through the box score, big game for Taylor Stremlo with Chit Chat being hurt. Now you've got depth. Now you've got people that can step in, which you knew you had, but you wanted to see them in pressure situations. You saw that last night. So these are the kind of wins that you build on to get into February, and to go down there and get a win like that with not playing well and people getting hurt and things like that, really a good sign for this team this time of year.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I'm not surprised Iowa won. I picked them to win. I wouldn't have picked that score. Just the way it looked was different than what I thought. But hey, that doesn't matter. And finding ways to win different games. I think you saw last year with this team, if it got different, if it got slower paced, if things didn't go, they maybe struggled in some closer games. And they didn't, and they got that victory. They can get Miami of Florida coming up. I think that is on Saturday, isn't it? Tomorrow.
Yep.
Speaking of Saturday, Senior Day at Kinnick Stadium, Iowa and Michigan State. We talked with Tom Kakert earlier in the week about, and I'll ask you, I don't see how this isn't a blowout. I don't you have an Iowa team frustrated after 2 losses. I've been to the state of Michigan, the beautiful state of Michigan, about a month ago for a Lions game, and my cousins are Michigan State fans. Some of them are, and they had already checked out on that team and that program and that head coach a month ago, and it's been nothing but losing since. How is this anything but a blowout? How is this a close game, if that's even possible on Saturday?
If Iowa doesn't play well, if Iowa turns the ball over, and I mean they really haven't had those kind of clunkers this year when you think about it. I mean, all their losses were close games. They've played consistently good football. I mean, again, plays here or there make a big difference. I just don't think it's going to be that way tomorrow. I think they jump on them early, and if you do that, this is a Michigan State team that's counting the days, and they're going to just fold up, I think. So that's going to be the big thing for me, is get an early start tomorrow for them in that game, for Iowa in that game. And if they do that, if it's 17-0, second quarter, that's going to be a blowout. It's going to get bad. And they need that. They're going to need a win like that, I think.
Yeah, and obviously it's a quick turnaround. The next 6 days, a shorter turnaround until Black Friday. But it's
Right.
senior day. What will this senior class be remembered the most for when it comes to the legacy they left? It's a different class. Some of them walked last year and have been there since. It seems like they're like Jess Settles of football when it comes to some of them, and then some of them maybe more recent
Jess.
getting there. And Jess, I should mention this. Jess was supposed to be on the show today. We went to record something and some technical difficulty on my end and his a little bit. So between the two of us, we're gonna do something next week. So I mentioned Jess throughout the week. He's gonna, and more than anybody, Jess is such a good human being. What does this senior class look like? What will they be remembered for when they walk tomorrow?
There's some really good players in that group, hard workers, guys that got better. I mean, that's the thing you always like to see about the seniors is how much better they were, this now than they were, 4 years ago, or when they started being a part of this, part of the lineup. But they're going to remember also for this year when they played some really good football games that they didn't win. And that's not a knock on them in any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, I think it's just guys. These are some really hardworking guys that have made plays and have done some good things. You can point to different guys and say, these guys are really good football players. They're really good character guys, and people dismiss that sometimes, but I don't. I just think that they were really good character guys, and to me, that says a lot about them, and it says a lot about where they'll be in the future.
Are you surprised that it's another sellout at Kinnick Stadium tomorrow? And I say that in the nicest way possible because, there's frustration, I think, between,
Right.
How close this team could have been. And I'm not saying this to be mean to Illinois, but when they kind of got eliminated from the college football playoffs, like there were empty seats. I think it was interesting to see last week. I mean, you had 2 weeks ago rain in Iowa City, and that place didn't have an empty seat. Rainy out USC, and there was plenty of seats to be had. I think it says something to the Iowa fan base that everybody's still, it's a likable team. I know they haven't won some close games, but it's a good team and it's a likable team as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I mean it is the last game of the year, and now I don't know what the tickets are like on the secondary market, because that's kind of an idea on what the fan base is thinking. They bought their tickets a while ago. How much are they selling them for? I haven't looked, but I think this says a lot about the fan base that they want to be there tomorrow. I think the weather's supposed to be pretty nice, fairly nice. So last game of the year, it's not going to be cold. Yeah, I can see them being there. And it's a middle of the afternoon game. So again, that's, if it's 11 a.m. and it's raining, there'd probably be maybe a few empty seats, but with the weather being what it is tomorrow, I think it'll be a really good crowd and they'll be loud. So.
Give me a score prediction on Iowa, and then we're going to talk on some more Big Ten football here in a second too, as well.
31-7 Iowa.
Wow. All right, I like it, and I don't disagree with it. I mean, if they're gonna do what they did to Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I think both those teams are better than Michigan State, I think there'll be some frustration from Iowa, and I think Sparty might be the on the wrong end of that frustration, if that makes any sense as well. I don't know why it is. You look at the Big Ten. I want to start a little closer to us. We do our Nest guest pick with Marc Nessler, and I have Illinois losing. One, I'm really behind in the overall competition, and the loser is going to get a pie in the face. And so I need to do something to spice it up a little bit. But we talked with Ked Prince yesterday. I think this is a sneaky, tough spot for Illinois. Wisconsin's been bad this year, but I think the last couple of weeks they beat Washington. They hung with Indiana for a half before that thing got a little out of hand, but they played Indiana better than Illinois played Indiana, and it's in Madison at night. Does Illinois have to be concerned about the Badgers tomorrow?
Yeah, those are games you got to be careful of. And you go back to what you were saying earlier about, Wisconsin won a game, played well in another game, has nothing to lose, and it's night, and it's those crowd. you know that Wisconsin, the crowds get there and they're going to be loud, and even if they're mad right now, but it's Illinois, and so those. I mean, do I think Illinois wins? Probably. Do I think they get scared in the process? Yeah. I mean, I think that's the you don't want to let Wisconsin hang around into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And so those are dangerous games. Those can be really dangerous games at this time of year.
And you look at it you look at Wisconsin's record, 3-7, 1-6 in the Big Ten. A victory over ranked Illinois later in the season kind of propels you for what's to come and maybe into next year as well. So kind of maybe salvages a season, if you will. Some other games tomorrow that kind of intrigue me. Obviously, the USC-Oregon game is going to be a tough watch for Iowa fans because they're two teams that Iowa almost just beat. 9-1 versus 8-2, both 6-1 in the Big Ten. It's in Oregon. Your thoughts on that game, and give me a pick between USC and Oregon.
I'm going to go Oregon, and then I think it'd be a close game. I just think that goes back to who's at home. Because those are two pretty good football teams. I really like that Oregon team when I saw them, a couple weeks ago. But and I wasn't really that enthused with USC from the first half anyway. Second half they were really good. But I'm going to go Oregon in that game, and I'll say 20-17.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think USC's got a lot of talent, but I think Oregon still plays Big Ten football. And I think they're tougher, more physical up front as well. One other one in the Big Ten before I got another couple quick things to get you to. Nebraska and Penn State, just because it's Nebraska next week with Iowa. Nebraska 7-3. They're 4-3 in Big Ten play. They go to Happy Valley. Obviously, we don't need to document the disappointment that's been in Happy Valley. But if Nebraska wins that game, they'll be playing on Black Friday against Iowa, who they don't beat very often, with a chance to get to 9 victories. Can they go on the road and beat a Penn State in Happy Valley to make that game even bigger next week?
Could they? Yeah. Do I think they do? No. I mean, I just think I go back to what we were just talking about, Wisconsin, Penn State. This is a chance for them to make a statement and salvage something out of this year. And Nebraska somehow or another always finds a way to lose those kind of games. So I'm going to go Penn State in that game.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I like the Nittany Lions as well. All right, John, before we let you go, I wanna talk to you about something kind of sports related, but not. You have somebody like Mike Halas, who we found out via social media and everything last night, going to be done December 1st. After 40 plus years of covering the beat that is Iowa, and you've been on that side of it. We've all seen people, known people. I'm lucky that I wasn't, but that's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is because it's no fun when it comes to corporate world and parent companies and all that kind of stuff. A change at the Cedar Rapids Gazette, a sale, and now one of Iowa's best beat writers, Mike Halas, is kind of being shown the door. Just your thoughts on those kind of things, because it's infuriating, it's frustrating, and it's what's wrong with media right now.
Yeah. My newspaper sale PTSD came up because this was the time we were sold. The Hawkeye was sold in 2016, and it has all kind of gone down the same way. We didn't have the cuts that early. They waited a few months for they did that.
They didn't do it 15 minutes later.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was. They actually waited a little while to do it. But it was the same sort of deal. I remember when we were sold. You guys are so successful. We're not going to hurt you. And we were all sitting there laughing because we knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you, if you are serious about being a media company, I don't know how you cut your best people. I don't know how you do it. And I don't know how you cut anybody, but they do it. And there's a mendacity that goes along with it that, it makes me really, I love journalism. I love sports writing. I love, what we do. Mike's a good friend. Mike and I have covered a lot of games together over the year. I was really sad the other day. He came over to tell us, and I had already heard, I had tears in my eyes. I was, and I don't work there, and I was upset. And, I hate this for him. I hate this for the others that have lost their job there. And I hate it for what is coming to them because I know how this goes. I know how the spiral begins. And so I hope it doesn't happen that way there, but I fear it's going to, and it's not. And a really great newspaper and a really great sports section is going to get hurt for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
And,
I look at Mike Halas and I think pro's pro. Like, and he's somebody that you watch kind of from afar when you start. I think that's what I did, was kind of watch from afar, and I'm like, that's Mike Halas. And then you got to realize how, he's a pro's pro, and you get to know him a little more and all those kind of things. I'm going to reach out, see if he can come on the show next week as well, just to kind of talk about, or the next couple weeks. Obviously, I think December 1st is his last day, but just to, I think these situations, and it happened to, we have Marc Nessler on the show every week, and it happened with Marc Nessler and others here in the Quad Cities, and people here in the Quad Cities know, like, I think it's become to a point where for a while, when it comes to the newspaper, it was anger at like, hey, it's not there anymore. And then now it's just apathy, because I think people, this is what it is. They expect it. They've come to the, the concept of like, this is what it is. They're just accept it. And so that's sad to me, because I think, like you just said, the best of the best are getting cut. With that being said, I do think that, like, when it comes to the way things were, the only thing that people can do, such as, consumers, media people, all that kind of stuff, is be creative and evolve. And that's when it comes to the podcasts and the different forms. And I hate it when people say like, oh, I didn't read this guy's stuff because it was a paywall. Shut up. Of course it's a paywall. They're trying to make money. They have to make a living too. They have to they can't just give you all the free stuff on Twitter and then go home and eat beans. We got to make money too. Right. So it is frustrating to see. It happened in newspapers. It's happening a little bit in radio too. Television, I unfortunately, and I'm not trying to, I've loved what I got to do, but it's starting to go down that path as well when it comes to television as well. And so it is frustrating, but keep supporting local journalism, because they work really hard and they're good people too. So we'll celebrate Mike Halas hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and we wish him the best of luck as well. Hey, I'm going to talk more about it next week, but I have a kind of a controversial thought on Thanksgiving food. I enjoy it. I eat it. It's fine. But like, everybody looks at Thanksgiving as like the day of the year that you eat. One of those days you eat a bunch of food. Why don't we eat better food? Like, if it's a day we're going to eat, like, is I guess my question is turkey and stuffing the best food that we can have if we're going to take a day to eat food?
I'm all about turkey. The stuffing you can get rid of. I don't care about that.
I like it.
But I love turkey. And I remember we would always go out to my grandma's house, and I remember the turkey for dinner was really good. We would stay all day, and then we would have hot turkey sandwiches afterwards with turkey and gravy. And oh my God, those are good. I could eat like 10 of those. Right.
All right, you're starting to change me a little bit, because I do like, and I love it. I eat it. I got a big plate. I eat all day. But I got to a point a few years ago where it's like, if your favorite foods, if you're supposed to eat in that day, why aren't we having, like, I like spaghetti and meatballs. Why isn't or steak? Like, why isn't prime rib or steak? But you're right. And my biggest thing is when I was younger, and we do it to an extent now, but like, we're so busy with kids and running around the next day that but it was always Black Friday, where you grab like the leftover turkey and the leftover stuffing, and you grab some bread and you kind of put it all together, and you make like this, you can get them at Capriati's, those like Thanksgiving subs. I don't like cranberries. I think cranberries are weird. Anytime you have something that comes out that looks like the can that it was in is a little weird as well. So I shouldn't be too cranky. I do like Thanksgiving food, and I'll eat a lot of it. Unfortunately, John, I'll eat probably too much of it. But I just think that, like,
turkey, green beans, rolls. I love rolls.
Yeah.
And you just butter the crap out of them too.
Yeah.
Which is,
so one of my biggest frustrations, I'll talk about next week, and I love my in-laws and my family, so we go and eat at like my in-laws for lunch. And it's always like, I always tell my wife, like, let's try to eat as early as we can, because then we go to my mom's for dinner, and it's like we want to separate a little bit so you're not just
Right.
and so lunch gets later every year, and then God bless my mom, but I'm always like, Mom, can we eat a little later? Because we're trying to separate the meals, and it seems like dinner gets earlier every year. So, and then middle of the afternoon, it's dessert time, and it's like, I don't know where is all this go. So, you know what? I should forget about it and just enjoy eating, and of course, Detroit Lions football. Hopefully, I can enjoy that. It's been a little while since I've been able to enjoy that. They finally won a game on Thanksgiving last year, so it's Packers and Lions this year. It's a big one.
And you remember those football games. You remember, I still will remember the Chicago Bears, the kick return that they had against the Lions. What was it, 1980 or something? I remember that. Just, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But football is part of that day too. I will just tell everybody, don't argue politics at Thanksgiving dinner.
No religion, no politics. That's what my dad always would say.
You're going to see these stories about how do you talk to your whoever about politics. Don't.
Yeah.
Talk about Iowa football, talk about Iowa basketball, talk about the weather, talk about old memories of Thanksgiving. Have fun with your family, and just for one day shut off the MSNBC and Fox.
Yes.
All the rest. And please do that. That's my biggest thing.
Words of wisdom from John Bohnenkamp. I will say this: when growing up, I always watched the Lions Thanksgiving game, and for me, that was the one day a year, besides the 2 Bear games, that I was going to get to see the Lions play football. Like, you didn't see it. That wasn't on we didn't get the local games. So that was one of 3 games guaranteed I get to see. So Thanksgiving was like super. And I always watched it with my dad, my brother, and all those kind of stuff. When I got married, you have to make concessions. And so I stopped watching with my brother, and we'd go out to my in-laws. And I'm going to get this wrong when it comes to math. I should do the math in my head. So last year was the 16 years we had gone out to my in-laws, and I had behaved myself during Lions games. And there's been a lot of losses. And last year was the first year where I remember it was Bears-Lions. And there was a pass interference call late in the game before Caleb and Eberflus messed up all the timing. That was not a good call. And I stood up with in-laws all around, and the language was not correct. It was really, really bad. And everybody just looked at me. And I said to my wife, I'm like, you've brought me here for 16 years. That's the first time I was an idiot. And so she just shook her head at me like she normally does. So I have to behave myself during Lions games on Thanksgiving, which is not always easy. So, John, I appreciate it. I'll see you Saturday up in the press box, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Me on.
All right. John Bohnenkamp, one of the best in the business. Great dude as well. Yeah, Thanksgiving. He's right. Don't talk politics. My dad always said, no religion, no politics at family get-togethers. Everybody gets along really, really well if we do that. So don't argue about it. Don't bring it up. There's plenty of things in this world you can talk about besides politics and those kind of things as well that we all agree on. So we got more to get to. You watching OTA on a Friday right here in the Quad Cities. Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. TGIF, everyone. Hopefully you're ready for the weekend. I am ready for the weekend for sure. Coming up in just a few moments, in next segment, we have Marc Polite coming up, Rock Island head basketball coach. Of course, for so long, we've been talking high school football on Fridays, and now it's about time to change gears and talk some high school basketball. So Marc Polite, the first of many basketball previews we'll have coming up for the boys and the girls. That's coming up in just a little bit as well. Want to mention a few quick things. First and foremost, congratulations to Chad Braun, the head football coach down at Monmouth College. We had him on the show earlier this week, Tuesday. All my days run together, but I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday. We had him on the show on Tuesday. He's been named the MCC Coach of the Year. It's the sixth time he's won it in like 10 years being the head coach down at Monmouth. He became the head coach in 2015. So obviously Monmouth, an amazing season. They went undefeated in the conference play. They will take on St. John's a week from Saturday up at St. John's in the postseason. So we wish them the best of luck. If you missed that interview, go back and check it out. I believe it was Tuesday's episode of OTA as well. A little bit of NFL news. Jackson Dart's been officially ruled out for the Giants. So it'll be Jameson Winston taking the field at Ford Field, which makes me feel a little better. Not that I'm overly worried about the game, but as a Lions fan, the line went from minus 10.5 to minus 12.5. So I like the direction that the line is going. Lions and Giants this weekend. Don't forget, it's also the Bears and the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball around at practice yesterday. We'll see if he actually plays and returns to Soldier Field, and if he continues to own the Chicago Bears, which Packers fans will be quick to point out he did for so many different years. So a big weekend of NFL, big weekend of college as well. And before we hit a quick break and get to Marc Polite, I got to take a second here. Some family and friends of someone that I know pretty well want to make sure that he has a good birthday this weekend. And so I want to make sure to wish Matt Franks a happy birthday. His birthday's on Sunday. I've known Matt for a long time. He coaches fifth grade basketball with me right now. But some other family and friends want to make sure that we did do justice. He watches the show a lot, which I always appreciate, and wish him a happy birthday. Coming up on Sunday, he turns 46 years old. Of course, we do the Nest Guest stuff. Which is old school newspaper stuff. We've been talking newspapers last segment with John Bohnenkamp, but this is this 1999 pace setter. That was another just amazing thing the newspaper always had, was the pace setter. So this was back in 1999. Matt's really let himself go since then. No, I kid. He's doing great. He looks better than all of us combined. But a quarterback back then, number 9, class 1999 for the Allen Pioneers. That's his pace setter picture. You always see Matt Franks smiling. So him to have a picture where he's not got that smile on his face is weird. But I think Matt could probably figure out who was behind making sure he got a little love on OTA. I'll let you do the math when it comes to that one. But happy birthday, Matt Franks. He turns 46 coming up on Sunday. Always watches the show. God bless him. We need more people like you in this world. And we hope he has a good birthday on Sunday. He's got to coach our 5th grade team on Saturday by himself because I'm going up to Iowa City for the tailgate show. So hopefully he does that correctly, and then he enjoys his birthday on Sunday. I want to say I hope he gets a Bears victory on Sunday for his birthday. But how about this? How about he gets an Iowa victory on Saturday for football, and then that'll be his birthday gift. We won't worry about the Bears on Sunday. So we got more to get to. As I mentioned, Marc Polite coming up from the Rock Island basketball program, previewing the Rocks right after this. You're watching OTA on a Friday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. Fridays are usually all about high school football. And it's crazy because we literally flip a switch and we go from talking a ton of high school football to high school basketball. The season is nearly here. The boys in Illinois tip things off next weekend. So we're going to start talking a lot of high school basketball over the next couple weeks here, previewing as many teams as we can. And I figured we'd start in the Western Big Six and start with my good friend Marc Polite over at Rock Island High School. How are you, my friend?
Oh, just peachy. We just finished up our second week of practice, and now we're getting ready for our red and gold scrimmage tonight, and then next week is game week, so we got to get ready to start playing games.
All right, Coach. I'm going to make you and me feel old, but I remember really getting to know you when you came back from Florida Gulf Coast to go to UT. Yep. Please tell me that was like 5 years ago, because it seems like yesterday to me. How long ago has that been?
Oh, gosh. It's probably been about 17 years. Yeah, we're getting close to 20. We're getting close to 20 years since I've been back in the Quad Cities. So, yeah, it's flown by, that's for sure.
So we both must have been like 12 back then, because we're not that 12, old now. 14. Yeah, we're not that old now. So it's been great to watch your career, obviously, in the coaching ranks and everything you've done. I've gotten to know you personally as well. What's this time of year like for you? We kind of joked before we started that like you're trying to figure it all out, and ready or not, here it comes. What's this week? You go from the Western Big Six banquet to the red and gold scrimmage tonight. What's this time of year like for you?
It's really just it's a lot of box checking. There's like I have a season checklist, that things that you just have to do. We're not to the point yet where we're just coaching. We're doing a lot of administrative stuff. We're doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that people don't necessarily recognize, or no one ever gets a chance to see, but are sometimes very time consuming and get a little stressful. Equipment, just all of those things, and making sure we have everything for the season. Because I always say, once the ride starts, you don't stop it. When you hop on the roller coaster, and next week the roller coaster takes off, and and if you don't have it on you, you got to wait till the ride's over. That's kind of the mentality that we have. So we try to get all of our planning and stuff done prior to this, before we start tipping off and playing games.
Coach, I think last year was one of those roller coaster rides where you didn't know exactly maybe what to expect. I don't know if there was a ton of hype around Rock Island basketball, and things just fell into place. I talked to you several times here on the show, and you loved your guys and how it went. I want to talk to you about this year, but looking back at last year, and that can obviously give momentum to the following year. Last year was one of those special years where you just had guys buy in, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was the epitome of what we're trying to do within this program. It was very satisfying. It's probably the better word of saying it, because, Rock Island traditionally has had, just a lot of talent, a lot of size, a lot of things that makes it very, very tough to beat us. But last year's group, we didn't have any of those things. We had just a bunch of tough, gritty kids who wanted to win. And it's really been just a reflection of the blueprint that we have. And I've always said, like, regardless of talent, there's just certain things that I want to do with our basketball program. And the years that we're really talented, we think like we can be really, really special. But even the years that we're not, those are years that we still want to be able to compete at a high level because of just what we do on a daily basis. And that group really just embodied it. And they were a reflection of the multiplication factor that occurs when team and all those things come into play. The synergy of the game. It's almost like, like I told them, like, we're like the Avengers, it's amazing how when you have some good individual pieces, but when you put them all together and they work in unison and in sync for one common goal, you multiply the ability of each individual guy. And I felt like that last year was definitely a reflection of that.
You look at it, Coach, 28 victories, I think, a regional championship, second in the Big Six, going 12-2 in that conference. I think the only team in conference to beat Quincy, which was an extremely talented Quincy basketball team. Some of those guys are back, and they learned and had those experiences. Kind of talk about that, because it's a different team. There'll be different players and all those kind of things. But I think there's a lot of experience that we can gain from those type of successes. What do you take from last year and add into this year? I know it's a different group, different ride, all that kind of stuff. But those guys got some good experiences last year, didn't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that matters. I know a lot of times, the season is, it's a new season. However, that familiarity, I think allows you to expedite some of those processes. Experience allows you still got to go through those processes at the beginning of the season, early on, figuring some things out as far as rotations and chemistry. But when you have veteran guys, it really just expedites that process of knowing kind of where we're solid at and what we need to do and what direction we need to go. And, Lawson, Devin, Avion Thomas are three guys that we really are counting on a lot. And those guys played major minutes. I mean, if you saw us last year, I didn't sub much. I mean, those guys are on the floor a lot. And so for them to have all of those varsity minutes, Devin and Avion never really played varsity prior to last year. Lawson started every game as a sophomore. So to have those guys with that much experience, I think helps us out a lot. And we're really seeing that in practice on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they're leading, they're just so much more advanced in a lot of things that we want to do. And it makes a lot of sense with all the minutes that they played.
Coach, you mentioned Lawson. I feel like success breeds success, and I'm going to take it off the basketball court and go to the soccer pitch. And he was a key part of that soccer team that they just kept winning. And you look at Lawson and there's something with that young man when it comes to winning, because he won last year basketball wise. They had great success football wise, and not just him, but being in that building and seeing a program like the boys soccer program do things that have never been done before, that can translate or rub off on the other programs as well, can't it?
Absolutely, especially if you're sharing some of the same pieces. And and I felt like Lawson's really a guy that has emerged just from last year, as a sophomore to a junior. And now this jump that he's making from junior year to senior year, seeing him on the soccer field, I can just pick it up, right away. Just confidence is understanding. And people don't understand, like, Lawson's physically gifted, without a shadow of a doubt, but he doesn't always play like it. He shows it in flashes. But what makes Lawson elite is his brain. He's arguably he's one of the smartest players I've had. And his ability to understand and be able to play a pass ahead, to be able to, and I think soccer kind of helps him in basketball in that regard. He just kind of knows where to be, and sometimes we're on the bench, we look at each other and we're like, the coaches are like, did he just do that? Like, did that just happen? Like, how did he do that? How did he get there? And that's just this uncanny ability that he has to be able to make those kind of plays. And then I went to a lot of soccer games this year, and you see those same things reflected on the soccer field.
Marc Polite from Rock Island joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, there were jokes at the banquet. You've got new players. Every team has new players. That's the weird thing of high school basketball, and I've grown up covering it, and it's the what it is.
Sure.
So sometimes you lose them, sometimes you're the benefactor of them. You guys have a couple new faces in the program this year as well.
Sure.
We talked about some of the guys returning. You mix that in with some pretty good talent, maybe coming up through the system, and then as well coming from other places. Kind of talk about some of the new faces that we'll see at Rock Island this year.
Right. Yeah, well, we had a really good sophomore group last year. We're bringing up a couple guys that I think are going to be impactful guys for us this year. They've worked really hard. We have Jeremiah Jameson. We call him JJ. JJ Jameson is a guy that's we felt like this offseason has really emerged. He's a kid that can score it on a lot of different ways, and he's going to give us a lot of what we need off the bench. Defensively, he's improved substantially. And then Evan Ellis, who's another football guy, one of the best wide receivers, in the conference on the football side, and he's bringing a lot of that toughness and that athleticism to the court as well. And I think he's been really great this summer, and then coming off of a football season, he's really jumped back in and done really, really well. And then obviously, the two guys that ended up transferring in, Eris Morgan, the kid from Riverdale, has came in and has done a good job, and adjusting to the pace and the speed of the game, playing where he played before, and coming into Rock Island, it's a little bit different, but he's done a great job. His attitude has been great, and we're expecting a lot from him, and obviously Abby, he just brings a lot of just energy and toughness and all those things. And I think all of our guys have really spent a lot of time just gelling together. The two guys that transferred in were with us all summer, so that helped out a lot as far as just getting some games in the summertime and all that stuff. So we're excited to see. I always say every year it's like, as a coaching staff, it's like a puzzle, and you have to be able to take different pieces and make something that people want to look at. And it's like I get all of these pieces, and it's our job as a coaching staff to make something out of it. And I think when you have good pieces, it makes some pretty good art. And we're hoping that we can produce a product on the floor that people want to see.
Coach, I think when a lot of people talk about the Western Big Six this year, Rock Island is one of the first schools that come out of people's mouths. So maybe expectations different than last year as being higher than last year. Look at this conference real fast as a whole with me, because we did the banquet last Sunday, and I was going home going like, man, I think UT's loaded. And Sean's got Sean's team, and he loves them. And when he loves teams, they usually are pretty good. And Rock Island's that. I'm excited about what they're doing down in Galesburg as well. Quincy's always Quincy. Like I could go through all of them. I don't want to leave any out. Talk about this conference, and I think you and I love it. You're like me, because that's what makes this conference special, is that every year there's so many different storylines. Talk about this conference as a whole, and good luck each and every Friday night when it comes to playing.
Right. Yeah, I say that all the time, and especially like we've had some since I've been back, like the top half of this league, and it juggles a little bit, who's in that top four. But that top four in this league is tough, and you better be ready to go. And we've seen a Sterling upset a Moline at Sterling. We've seen UT have that Quincy team down 20 points in the first quarter last year in Quincy. So like you have to be ready and you have to be prepared, and we know that. But I do think though that the two kind of the two powers over the last few years graduated a lot with Moline and Quincy, and so like they're going to be retooling a little bit. But I mean, they got great coaches. They have a great tradition, and they could be very, their groups this year could be very similar to how teams felt about us last year, where we snuck up on some teams and people didn't think we were going to be what we were, and we ended up, so we are really, really aware of that. But UT probably returns the most experience. I think they have a combination of a lot of good things, and Coach Say does a great job of getting the most out of those guys. And I know just watching them on paper and just what they've accomplished over these last 2 to 3 years, that climb has happened steadily. And this is a year that I know they're trying to make a big jump, and I think we're going to factor in there as well. I think we're going to be a tough out because of our ability to play different styles and our speed. And, we just watching us in practice. I think there's going to be some things that we're going to be able to do that's going to give a lot of teams fits. And, and then Moline and Quincy is right there. Like I said, Quincy's got quite a few guys back from a winning pedigree, and Moline has it as well. And Moline's going to be bigger this year. Like you can tell, like, they're going back to Sean's old school ways of playing more physical and playing more half court and just kind of grinding out possessions. The past few years, they've played really fast and they've played tempo. And so, like, I think it's going to be interesting to see also, like, just the coaches adjust to what they have. At the high school level, you gotta adjust to your personnel. And some years you're going to have certain things, and some years you're going to have other things. And so, like for me, from a scouting standpoint, like that's the stuff that I enjoy. I watch a ton of film, sometimes too much, and a lot of times those are the questions that I like to answer. I know for a fact we're gonna have pretty much everybody's Thanksgiving tournament clipped up and ready to go, because I want to see just what changes they've made from what they've traditionally done. Because we have some great coaches in this league, and they're going to try their best to get the most out of every player that they have. So the league is the league, as I always say, and you better strap up and be ready to go.
Rock Island's Marc Polite joining me right now. I know you have a real job, so I'm going to only keep you a little bit longer, but a few more questions. You have
Sure.
a fun staff, a fantastic staff. You always have. You have a new addition this year, Shavana. Shavana Brewer is what I know her as. Obviously, she's a Singleton now. She was a fantastic basketball player at Rock Island, and you mentioned at the banquet, probably the first female to be on the boys coaching staff at Rock Island. And I can honestly go think, I don't know about the area if there's too many females that have been on any boys coaching staff in the Western Big Six.
Right.
She knows ball. And I think it's cool because whether you're a female, male, whatever, you know the game. Just talk about having her around and what that kind of means for your staff this year.
Oh, it's huge. Shavana worked, on the girls' staff our first few years, and she's married to our sophomore head coach, Demetrion Singleton, and so she's always around us. We do a lot of things as a family, as a Rocky basketball family, and so it was just kind of a quiet, subtle hints I would give every once in a while. And to be honest with you, we had it all originated though when we had a few of our boys asking her to work them out, the individual workouts and those type of things, like, hey, can we get in the gym with you? And it kind of just spiraled from there. And we ended up having a coach that needed to kind of shift his time commitments based upon some other outside responsibilities that he had. And that was the first name that came to mind. And I think it's going to be a great fit. I think she brings a wealth of experience. She's a guidance counselor here also at Rock Island High School, which brings a whole nother set of skills into our program for our boys, from just all the different things that they deal, because we deal with the total athlete. We care about the product on the floor, but we also care about them as individuals. And we want to surround our boys with people that support them to be able to get them just get them to be the very best that they can be. And so to have her in guidance, also in the building, that's another coach that I have in the building, which is big for us. It's just a win-win for us in our program. And I check on her pretty frequently. The guidance office is literally right down the hallway from my classroom. So I see her walking in and out, and you're still doing all right? You're still with us? And she's having a ball. And we're hoping that we could keep her for a long time.
She lets those boys know that she could go, right? I mean, she was good.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. She can still play.
Oh,
yeah, she can still play. So yeah, she could shoot. You could just see all that muscle memory coming back.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun to watch.
Last basketball question for you. I saw you the other night at Blackhawk. Bengo playing for ICC. Yeah. I was calling the game with John Marks on MC22.
Sure.
And we kind of dated ourselves a little bit when we started the interview. We're older. You're older. Not old, just older.
Older, keyword.
You get to look and see your guys play at that next level. And you made a point to get over. It's busy. It's a busy time of year, but you made a point to go see Ben play.
Yeah.
And I know you got two guys that used to play for you that are down at Augustana doing great things for Jordan Dope. So just big picture.
Yeah.
Is it like a proud dad or how do you look at, and you get to sit back and watch these guys go off and represent Rock Island and you got to be pretty proud of maybe the tree that you're starting to get or you have when it comes to college basketball players and beyond.
Yeah. We're really excited about it. And that's a conversation that we have with all of our guys when they're young. What's your goals? Like, what do you want? Is a term I use all the time. They get sick of me saying it. Like, what do you want out of this? Because that really helps drive the direction of where we're trying to push you. And some guys say, Coach, I just want to finish out high school and enjoy it. And some guys, I want to play at the next level. And when we hear that, we feel it's our responsibility to place them in positions to address some of their weakness and do all of those things that we need to do for them to be successful. And Ben was one of those guys that just rags. I won't say a rags to riches story, but a guy that as a freshman wasn't what we thought would be projected out to be a full scholarship, college basketball player, but just worked his butt off and did all the things that we asked him to do. And now look at him. He's having an opportunity to live out his dreams. And it's so funny. It's so funny, man, because I get there and they get there and I love getting that text message or making that phone call. And I said, hey, it wasn't what you all thought it was going to be, was it? And they're like, no, Coach, this is hard. This is very, very hard. And so but knowing that we prepared them for that, what a tough practice looks like, what a college practice looks like, and they all say, Coach, we do the same stuff. They do the same drills that you do, and so it's refreshing to know that we're on the right path and we're preparing our guys. But we also tell them that now it's your time. Like, you got to figure this out. You got to make your own path. And we're here to support you, but what you want out of life, you got to go get. And to see them go on and graduate and do all those things, it's a lot of fun. But I believe we have 9 guys right now since I've been here in the last 4 years that are currently playing college basketball somewhere. And so we're really proud of that. And we're hoping to send many, many more and give them the opportunity for higher education. And I know higher education changed my life. And I tell them that all the time. Getting an opportunity to go to college and just changes your worldview, changes the way you see yourself. It opens doors that nobody can shut. And so we're always pressing these guys to be the best they can be in those areas.
Coach, I love it. I think you guys start next Friday against Chicago Tech. Is that correct?
Yep.
On Black Friday. Do you get to enjoy Thanksgiving? Are you a Thanksgiving guy? I'm going to talk a lot about this next week. Food-wise, are you a Thanksgiving guy?
Yeah. I am a little bit. I always make the turkey, so I'm the turkey maker. So I enjoy it. Well, it's a nice time for us to kind of rest a little bit before we gear up for the season.
I feel like it's an unpopular opinion, and I like Thanksgiving. I like the food, but if it's the day of the year to eat a bunch, is it the best food we can have? I love it. I get it. I know you have to have the turkey, but if it's the best food we can have, there's steaks, there's other things that's good. But
there's other options, right?
Yeah, but
exactly.
For one day, I'll eat it. I'll enjoy it. Coach, I'll eat too much of it. Hey, speaking of Thanksgiving, I thank you for giving me my time or your time this morning. I always appreciate you. I have a feeling I'll bug you a few times this year. So be ready for it. Hopefully, because that means you're winning. That means you're winning. So, all right, my friend, get to work. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, Matt.
All right, that is Rock Island head coach Marc Polite here on Off the Air. Yeah, high school basketball season. The girls got started this week in Illinois. Everybody gets going next week. And it's funny because we flip that switch and we go from football and the fall sports right to basketball. And Friday nights are going to be fun in the Western Big Six. I guarantee you that. We got more to get to. You watch it Off the Air on a Friday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. TGIF, the weekend is now here. Well, it is for me. If you got to work this afternoon, get through it. You'll be fine. Watch the show again. Watch other shows that we did this week. That helps out a ton. It's been a fun show. We talked to Iowa women's basketball. They got that signature early season victory against Baylor last night. We talked about them with Kyle Huesmann. We also talked with John Bohnenkamp about the Iowa men's basketball team, football, and then also the growing, and it's been going for a while, greed of media companies. Mike Halas is done covering the Hawkeyes for the Gazette in December. New company, and one of the best that ever does it suddenly doesn't have a job. So we talked about that and how dumb that is with John Bohnenkamp. We wished Matt Franks a happy birthday. I think that was a very important thing we did today. That coming up on Sunday. It's a national holiday, I do believe. And then we talked with Marc Polite about the Rock Island basketball team. The turkey tournaments start next week. And it's a busy time of year when it comes to high school basketball. Ready or not, here we come. A couple reminders. Nest Guess is up and going. We had the most entries ever last week. We want to beat that this week. So go to my social media. There's a link right there. Click on it. If you know me and you need to direct message me or whatever, do that. I'll get you the link. Get signed up. It's free. Go get your picks in. 11 a.m. tomorrow is the deadline, and win free food from Hungry Hobo, which is always delicious as well. It's a Hungry Hobo type of day. You look outside and you're like, go get a grilled chicken and like some chicken tortilla soup, like maybe some waffle fries, dipped in cheese, of course. Looking outside, it's that day. So we thank Hungry Hobo for being a sponsor of the Nest Guess contest. Go ahead and get your picks in for that as well. Tomorrow, the Hawkeye Tailgate Show comes your way on the Hawkeye Radio Network at 12:30. Great lineup. Caden Weegan, Pat Angerer, Jake Kudwell will join us. The honorary captain, Jay Norvell, will join us as well. So a ton of great things to get to when it comes to that show. That'll be tomorrow. We'll be live from Kraus Family Plaza. It's supposed to be a nice day for football. So swing by Kraus Family Plaza, say hi. And then, of course, if you can't, check out the show on the radio as well. We will do a post show when it comes to college football tomorrow with Tom Kakert, probably talking Iowa, and by then Illinois should probably be done as well. So that will come your way tomorrow as well. Next week, it's a holiday week. Things will be a little funky. Show on Monday, show on Wednesday, show on Friday. No show on Tuesday. I got some radio stuff we got to get done in Iowa City. So no show on Tuesday, and then no show Thursday. It's Thanksgiving. But Friday we will have a post show after the Iowa-Nebraska Black Friday game. So different time on Friday. We'll get it all out to you guys. We appreciate you guys even caring and paying attention and watching. So I appreciate everybody who watched today. Great numbers on a Friday. We appreciate that as well. We thank our sponsors for allowing us to do this each and every day. And we will be back on Monday, actually tomorrow, with a quick show, but mainly on Monday with a brand new full episode of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Jess settles next week and a few other surprises along the way as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. We will see you guys again real soon.